Howdy, my name is Nonat, and recently a pretty big piece of content just got released for Pathfinder 2e, something that's been around for a little while at the point of this video being uploaded, and something I've been meaning to talk about. You know what it is, I know what it is. Of course, I'm talking about the Hemothurgist. In real talk, I will actually be live streaming my first impressions of High Helm this Friday, as long as everything goes to plan. I'm really excited. I'm working with the folks over on Pathfinder Nexus to show off their sort of built-in content reader, so that's what I'll be using to show off High Helm. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll be going live around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, so be there. It's going to be a blast. But in this video, we're going to be covering the Hemothurgist, a third-party class that you can use in your Pathfinder 2e game. And this is as much of a deep dive as you're going to get from me on this. Like with most third-party content, I don't want to cover every single detail about it so that you have a reason to go out, download it for yourself, and you have no reason not to download the Hemothurgist. It is literally free. There is an option to pay what you want if you would like the author to make a little kickback if you think it's a high quality product, but it is a free third-party class for you to download and play around with in your Pathfinder 2e campaign. If you've been looking for a character who can legitimately manipulate blood and create magical effects with said blood, the Hemothurgist is going to be exactly what you're looking for. Today, I'm just going to be going over the basic class features as well as their focus spells, but I'm not going to be going over the class feats. There are just so many feats to cover, and that's what makes these videos take super long, so if you want to check out the Hemothurgist class feats, you can use the link at the top of the description to go download it right now, and if you really like what you see, throw a few bucks at the creator, at the author, because they seriously deserve it for making such an awesome piece of content. Also, I'm in my new recording setup. It's not perfect yet. I've got a bunch of foam that I still need to hang up somehow, but once I have it, it'll be like a way more good quality recording foundation because like there won't be sound bouncing everywhere. But until then, at least I've got Disney princesses. And final little preface, there is a content warning in this book because it involves blood. Some of the effects may mimic self-harm activities. If any of this makes you uncomfortable and it's not something you want to hear, maybe don't watch this video, maybe don't download this class. It's never done in poor taste, but it does replicate some things that might make people uncomfortable, okay? Okay. I really appreciate how above and beyond the author went with this content. They have their own iconic. Claret Orlov is the Hemothurgist iconic, and I think it's super cool. I love Orlov. Full transparency, I've known the author for at least a few months, if not a couple years in passing now. They're fantastic. I love their character Orlov, and I think they make an amazing iconic for the Hemothurgist class. So the Hemothurgist is something that people have been wanting for a long time, which we're all, of course, just now getting when the Kineticist comes out, but that is a Constitution-based caster. If you're using your own life force to cast spells, chances are you need a lot of it, so a high Constitution score is helpful, and they get 8+ con mod in hit points, so a little tankier than your average spellcaster. Trained in Perception and trained in Reflex and Will saves, they only start Expert in Fortitude, which tracks. You get training in Arcana, as it is an arcane spellcaster, 3+ your Intelligence modifier in additional skills, and an additional skill based on your subclass, known as your Art. And their weaponry kind of reminds me of a rogue a little bit. They're trained in simple weapons, but also the longsword, the rapier, the short sword, but also the battle axe. This almost screams Final Fantasy Red Mage to me, and I dig it. They can only wear light armor and nothing else, but that does mean you get some armor. Most spellcasters aren't so lucky. Let's jump into the class features. The Hemothurgist is, of course, an arcane spellcaster, so they get arcane spellcasting. The big fancy thing, though, is that they don't need material components because they can replace them with their own life essence. Oh, I don't think I was specific. This is a spontaneous caster, not a prepared. So your Hemothurgist won't be having a spell book. It's going to have a repertoire similar to a bard or a sorcerer. Though something that does hold the Hemothurgist back a little bit is their spells per day. They only get a max of 3 per level per day. That's even less than a sorcerer, which I believe is already less than a wizard. So the Hemothurgist is going to have some other ways to make up for this limited spell pool, but yeah, keep that in mind going in. There are 3 available subclasses for the Hemothurgist in this supplement, and those are the chosen arts of the Mage, the Transfusionist, and the Flagellant. Each one of these is going to give you a skill proficiency and a starting focus spell known as a Scarlet Technique, which is the coolest name for a focus spell I think I've ever seen. The Mage is your tried and true Blood Mage. Instead of getting a new skill, you actually get to start expert proficiency in Arcana at level 1, which is really, really cool. I don't think any core classes do that, but you also gain the Sanguine Amplify Scarlet Technique. This is a 1-action metamagic focus spell that allows you to add +2 to the next spell you cast, either its attack roll or its DC. If it happens to have both, like Ray of Enfeeblement, you pick one or the other, but this is a cool little way to get a little more accuracy on your spells that something like a wizard couldn't do. Now, on its own, this would actually seem pretty powerful, but it has a special trait, the Ichor D8 trait. Ichor works one of 2 ways. It'll either be listed on a spell, in which case you take damage equal to 1 die per spell level of the spell you cast, or it'll list a specific unchanging amount of Ichor damage, such as 2d4. This never scales. No matter what level you are, when you use this ability, you just take 2d4. However, there's an interesting caveat here. If you can make it to your next turn without taking any damage, you get your Ichor health back. Now, this is specifically at the end of your next turn, and it's damage from any source. So if you use an Ichor effect on one turn and you lose 10 hit points, then if you don't use any Ichor effects, you don't lose any health, and nothing hits you by the end of your next turn, you get those 10 hit points back. But even if you use another Ichor effect on that following turn, you're not going to get those original 10 hit points back because you took damage. It's a really cool sort of patience versus risk reward system, where if you want to spam your Ichor effects, you can, but you're going to keep hemorrhaging health, no pun intended. Whereas if you only use an Ichor effect every other turn, they're technically free as long as you don't get hit. So Sanguine Amplify is a really cool way to buff up the DC or attack roll of your spells, but keep in mind you're going to take a d8 of damage each time you use it. I don't know if you're level 9 and you use Sanguine Amplify, which will be upcast as a 5th level focus spell. Are you taking 5d8 when you cast this? Because that would make it, I think it's still worth it. To get that flat +2 on a spell attack or a spell DC, that's humongous. And I would say that's worth an average of, whatever, 20 damage. Especially if you can get it back next turn. Also, did you know that this video is brought to you by G Fuel? G Fuel? Look, it's a G. I think as long as I cover up the thing in the middle and then I just put fuel next to it, I'm sure it's still fine. I've been drinking G Fuel for about 8 months now. It's been fantastic. It's mostly replaced coffee, except for when I'm craving coffee. I have it every single day. I've always got multiple tubs. I used to be ordering it online, but now I found out they have it locally, and it's great. I'm really enjoying this stuff. I have the Dragon Ball flavor, the strawberry lychee. It's delicious. Just picked that up today. It's what's in my water bottle. I'll be drinking it all through the video. If you want to get some for yourself, use code NONAT, N-O-N-A-T, at checkout on gfuel.com using the link in the description. Pick yourself up some stuff. If you've never tried it before, try a starter kit. They're cheaper. They're a smaller entry point. You can get in, try a few different flavors. If it's not for you, no harm done. Get yourself some G Fuel. It's great. I've been drinking it for a long time, and I never feel like I crash afterwards, which is a huge plus. I low-key might need to blur this so I don't get sued. The next subclass, the Transfusionist, gives you training in medicine and the Transfusion Scarlet Technique. Makes sense. Transfusion here is kind of insane, and I love it. It's a really strong healing effect, but when the base heal spell of PF2 is as strong as it is, I think you can get away with this. As a reaction, if an enemy takes damage and has blood in their body, you can spend your reaction and a focus point to use their spilt blood to heal both yourself and an ally. You heal them for your spellcasting mod plus a d8, and if you chose to heal somebody else, you get to heal a flat d6. You know, it might not be a lot, but that's bonus healing. So you can choose to heal yourself for like 4 plus a d8, or heal somebody else for 4 plus a d8, and net 1d6 extra healing on yourself. It's a really versatile spell. If the initial damage that was dealt by your ally or yourself was a critical hit, you double the healing as well. So if your fighter friend critically hits them, which he's going to, he's a fighter, you're going to heal for 8 plus 2d8 on a reaction focus spell. That's like a super good lay on hands, and I love this. It's also at range. This is super cool, super fun. And it's the kind of thing that's bordering on almost too powerful, but they're doing it really well because A, it's a healing effect. A level 1 cleric can already blast you for a d8 plus 8 5 times a day. Being able to use this once per combat, not that broken. Additionally, the Hemothurgist has less normal spells per day. Their focus spells are part of their main class identity. So, making those focus spells a little bit stronger is fantastic. Well done. And finally, the Flagellant, you become trained in Intimidation and gain the Blood Pierce Scarlet technique. For 2 actions and paying an Ichor d6 cost, you create a projectile of your own blood. It only deals a flat 1d6 damage on a spell attack roll, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it also inflicts persistent bleed damage equal to your spellcasting modifier, which that's not on a crit. That's on a normal hit. The 1d6 damage up front is almost like, okay, cool, that's fine, but you're now going to bleed for 4 damage every single turn. The only downside is if you get a critical hit, it actually doesn't seem to double the piercing damage. Maybe it does, it doesn't quite say. It just says on a critical hit, the flat check to end the bleed is increased by 2, which is huge, by the way. I believe that makes it a DC 18, unless they have something to make them bleed less. DC 18 to end 4 damage every turn, not bad at all. And the persistent bleed scales by 1d4 every single spell level. Every spell level. So if you're level 5 shooting this, you're inflicting 3d6 damage and then 2d4 plus 4 persistent. That is super hard to get rid of. That's a phenomenal focus spell. It's slow. It's not going to do a bunch of damage up front, but over time, that's going to add up. Also, I don't think I said it out loud, I thought it was implied, but just in case, yes, the Hemothurgist does use their Constitution modifier for their spellcasting. They don't use Intelligence or Wisdom or anything like that. It is Con-based spell attack rolls and DCs. They get some pretty standard stuff, skill feats, general feats, normal spellcaster, Hemothurgist feats, and then Inexhaustible at 3rd level. Not only do you critically succeed any normal success against a drained effect, but also you reduce all drained effects on you by 1 level. If you're affected by drained 1, you're not drained at all. If you're affected by drained 2, you're only drained 1, and then you only take damage and lose health equal to drained 1. This is strong, but it makes sense. Drained specifically targets the blood of a target. As a spellcaster who is trained in manipulating your own blood and refusing to let it be drained from you, I think that's super flavorful and I dig it. It's also not too powerful. It's really strong resistance against one specific condition, and I think for a class feature, that's totally fine. Signature spells, ability boost, expert reflex saves, expert spellcasting, will saves to expert, perception to expert. It's a spellcaster. The class features are never super interesting. 11th level is expert proficiency in weapons along with critical specialization. At 13th level, you get master fortitude saves and auto crit succeed normal successes. Weapon specialization, armor proficiency, master spellcasting, and then finally at level 17, we see greater steadfast. This is your ultimate fortitude upgrade. You get legendary proficiency. Your successes are now critical successes. Your critical failures are now normal failures. And failures against a damaging effect deal half damage. You are just the ultimate fortitude save tank. And then legendary spellcaster. Nothing super exciting here, but it's a spellcaster with spellcaster class features. It lines up with the base design of the game, and that's a good thing. Oh, at 19th level, you also get a 10th level spell slot, similar to every other spellcaster in the game. And then feats, which I said I'm not going over in this video. If you want to check out the feats, download the Hemothurgist using the link in the description. I'm going to go check out the last few focus spells we haven't gotten to see yet. Scarlet Eyes give you imprecise blood sense up to 60 feet. Oh, that's so cool. You can just see people's blood kind of glowing out of their body. That's amazing. And visible blood. Okay, you can't see the blood glowing, but again, it's an imprecise scent. You can sense the direction of blood like a vampire. And any visible blood appears bright crimson for 1 minute. Oh, that's really freaking cool. I like that a lot. Literally become like a bloodhound. You could play a Shuni Hemothurgist and be a bloodhound. Someone take that idea, please. Carmine Blade is super cool. For 1 action and an Ichor D4 cost, you pull any one-handed piercing or slashing weapon out of your body made of pure blood. You can use it with your spell attack modifier instead of your normal attack modifier, meaning you're pretty accurate with this thing, meaning there is potential to build a melee Hemothurgist, which I think is really freaking cool. And I love how this heightens. Every so many spell levels, the weapon you create gains basic runes. You know, you're never going to be able to put burning or wounding on this thing, but it's going to get +1, +2, +3. It's going to get striking, greater, and major striking as you level up, and that's an amazing, smart way to scale this focus spell so it stays relevant. I love an idea of a Hemothurgist who chooses to fight with their own blood weapon. So freaking rad. Whale is cool, but I don't see how it fits into the Hemothurgist. As a reaction, if you take damage, you scream, and everything in a 10-foot burst takes 2d8 sonic damage on a basic fortitude save. Oh, I guess, like, maybe you're screaming so loud that it makes their ears bleed, because on a fail and a crit fail, it does apply persistent bleed damage. I'm curious to see if this comes from a feat. Let me see if I can find the feat. Yeah, it just says, struck by an enemy, you unleash a shrill, ear-piercing scream. I guess it's cute. I like the idea of, you know, it's still blood-related because you're literally making their ears bleed. But I don't know where you magically get the ability to scream so loud like a banshee. This feels like a banshee, like ghost archetype feat more than anything. Ooh, I love Blood Pump. For 2 actions and a 3d6 Ichor cost, and a car driving by, you rapidly increase the target's heart rate, granting them quickened for 3 rounds, as well as fast healing equal to double the spell's level. So right at level 5, when you can get this, maybe level 6, you can give them 6 fast healing, which is 6 health per turn. That is 18 hit points back over 3 turns. Not bad at all. And quickened 1. But I love that after the 3 rounds are up, the target is enfeebled 2 for a round. Like, you need to get your breath back. Your heart's slowing down. Adrenaline's wearing off, and you need a nap. Really cool focus spell. Oh god, I hate how much I love this. Oh god, this is awful. Malinfusion, 5th level focus spell for a 4d6 Ichor cost. For 2 actions, the target makes a saving throw as you attempt to create a blood clot in a specific part of their body. This is a really cool way to inflict status conditions. Enfeebled, blinded, slowed, or stupefied. You literally get to choose which one, which is great. I love spells and abilities that let you pick a condition because it makes you way more versatile. You're fighting an ogre, enfeebled. You're fighting a lich, stupefied. And it's for 1 round on a normal failure and 1 minute on a critical failure. Also, I'm sorry, I didn't realize leg was slowed. My brain was like, oh yeah, enfeebled, blinded, stupefied. Oh, great. Sorry. Slowed? Granted, it is just slowed 1 for 1 round, and even on a crit fail, it's slowed 2 for 1 round. That's almost not worth it, in my opinion. I guess it is against a boss. Against a big boss, that is worth it. You know, you are sacrificing 2 actions to get rid of 1 of theirs, which doesn't sound great. But if you're doing a big 4v1 boss fight, and you've got your team's 12 actions per round against their 3 actions per round, sacrificing 2 of yours to get rid of 1 of theirs, not actually all that bad. It is unfortunately a save or suck spell, but if you want to take the damage, you could use the Sanguine Amplify first, and then Malinfusion to increase the DC to make sure it works. That's its own interesting little thing. I guess if you do that, you'll take the Ichor damage from Sanguine Amplify, and then because you use Malinfusion, you're taking damage again. So because you took damage, you're not going to get your Amplify Ichor health back, but you could still get the Malinfusion health back. So it is a net loss of health, as well as 2 focus points, but for the chance to throw slowed 2 on someone for a turn, maybe it's worth it. Blood Siphon. As a reaction, if a creature hits 0 hit points and dies, yourself or target ally heal for 1d12 per creature level or your level. Wait, hold on. Wait. You know what this means? You're level 12 by this point. This is a 6th level focus spell. You're level 12. What you do, you strap a level -1 goblin warrior to your back. He is bound. He can't escape. If someone is struggling for health, you just reach back, snap the goblin's neck, and then heal your ally for 12d12. Wait a second. Like, just throw a produce flame cantrip at the goblin on your back. It dies, and then you heal your ally for 12d12 on a reaction, and any excess healing is converted to temporary hit points? This feels abusable, but it would take a lot of work. This feels insane. 12d12 healing on one focus point? Is there any restrictions to the feat of this, I wonder? Okay, it's only for the Transfusionist subclass, so only 1 in 3 Hemothurgists can even take this focus spell. That's such an interesting one. I just love that because it can use your character level. If you just bring a level 0 rat and just snap it in half, you can just heal your ally for potentially 144 hit points. That's crazy. Also, the phone is ringing. Okay, and here we are. The big, ultimate focus spell. And the best thing I could possibly end this video with. I've talked to the creator, I've talked to friends of the author of the Hemothurgist. They are so proud of this spell, and I can see why. I'm talking about the level 8 focus spell, Bloody Puppet. For 3 actions, a focus point, and 5d6 Ichor damage, plus the incapacitation trait, a target makes a Fortitude saving throw against 6d6 negative damage and 3d6 persistent bleed damage. When you cast this spell, you get to issue a command. Now, this isn't a verbal command like Suggestion of the command spell. No, this is you magically twisting the blood in their bodies to force them to take a specific action. And you can do this once per turn as you sustain the spell up to a minute. However, the target does get a new saving throw every time you sustain the spell and command them to do something. Those options are Drop Dead, where it drops everything it's holding and falls prone. You can force it to painfully dance, making it move 5 feet in a direction and take 3d6 negative damage as its body just contorts in ways you're forcing it to bend. The downside is that this movement can't trigger reactions, unfortunately, but it's still cool. And one of the coolest options, Swing. You make the target take a melee strike at something within reach at a -5 circumstance penalty. Obviously, it'd be too strong if you could make the BBEG attack one of his underlings, but at a -5, granted with incapacitation, probably not happening, but still super cool to be able to make enemies attack each other. Now, unfortunately, all of this control only happens on a normal failure or critical. A normal success still deals half damage, but you don't get to issue any controls. Failure is full damage and control, and a critical failure deals full damage, so you don't deal double damage with a critical failure, but you do get your first sustain free. They don't get a saving throw. So you get to control them for 2 turns before they even get to try resisting you again, which is so good. Just the idea of this bloody puppeteer making the ogre attack the wizard who summoned him. I don't know. There's some cool shit you can do with this, and I absolutely love this spell. And I love this class. There's so much cool stuff you can do with blood, and I feel like you could have a lot of fun flavoring existing spells. You know, don't necessarily change the effect of them, but change the fireball to be like an exploding glob of flaming, boiling blood that still deals fire damage in the same radius and everything. But you could just have this totally unique character casting spells that mechanically function the same, but are flavored to all be blood-based, or you could even play like an android or automaton Hemothurgist who uses like oil or whatever essence keeps the androids alive. You could play a Kenrasu Hemothurgist and throw sap at people, like tree sap. That would be hilarious. I love the Hemothurgist. Ash, amazing, amazing work. And hey, if y'all want me to cover all the feats, let me know in the comments below. If I get enough comments and this video gets enough views, and my biggest stipulation, if the Hemothurgist gets enough downloads, I'll make a part 2 where I go over all of the feats. If we can get the Hemothurgist to 1,000 downloads, and this video gets at least 600 likes, I'll make a video going over all the feats if you really want to see them. So if you want that, show some love to Ash for this great class. Show some love to this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And get yourself some G Fuel using code KNOWNAT at checkout. What are you doing? That's all from me, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, KNOWNAT ones.